Hey guys, what's up? This is the Pokemon Jesus right here, and I just wanted to let you know that the following video you're about to watch was recorded about 5 months ago. So Pokemon the Movie The Power of Us has been out for a while now, and me and my friend went to watch it on the premiere date, which was November 24th, 2018. I believe it was on a Saturday. I brought my camera along with me, and we were able to record some clips before going in the theater and going out, just getting like some quick thoughts about what we saw that day. The first part was no spoilers, and the second part, which is a very lengthy part, is where I talk about the spoilers and giving my personal opinions on what I thought about the movie. Now, it has been a while since this movie came out, and you're wondering why I'm doing this, or I'm releasing this very late. I've been busy with like a lot of stuff, some personal stuff in my life, especially during the holidays. I was dealing with a lot of things, but slowly during my free time I was editing this project secretly, like on the back, whenever I have time, and it's finally done. So here is my experience and my review of Pokemon the Movie The Power of Us. Alright, what's up guys? We're here at AMC Theaters. We're about to see Pokemon the Movie The Power of Us. Like, have you seen the trailer for it yet?
I actually have not, so...
Yeah, to be honest, I haven't...
No spoilers.
I mean, I saw the Japanese trailer, but I haven't seen the dub trailer. So right now we're about to head in and we'll see how we like it. I mean, how'd you like the movie last year? Because we saw it together as well, right?
Yeah, last year's... Up until the very end, it was like
I
really
Choose
good.
You, yeah.
Yeah. And there was this one scene where I'm just like...
Oh, you mean the Luxray scene, or...?
Oh, dude, the Pikachu scene.
Oh yeah, when Pikachu talked. Right.
Like, unless it was like Ryan Reynolds' voice, like...
Oh yeah, have you seen the Detective Pikachu?
Yeah.
Alright, so we're about to head in right now, and we'll see how we like it. Let's go.
What do you think about the movie food prices?
I'll admit, they're a bit expensive, but the ticket prices, way better than Regal.
Okay.
And the reclining seats are better than them too, so... Good balance.
It's crazy, dude.
Alright, so we just came out of the theater. We just finished Pokemon the Movie The Power of Us. Now, without giving any spoilers, what'd you think about the movie?
I liked it, man. Like, it just had more of a Pokemon feel than...
The one
like,
last year?
Last year's.
Yeah. And like what I said earlier, like they were focusing like more on, the 6 characters, because last year we just like had more focus on Ash.
Yeah, and whoever those 2 other guys were.
I think it was Sorrel and Verity.
Who weren't even in this one, so...
Yeah, I mean, it was still considered a sequel.
Yeah.
But what did you like mostly about the movie? And who was your favorite character? Like, excluding Ash, like, out of all. Callahan?
Well, that would spoil it. Hell no.
Come on.
I mean, it came through in the end.
Yeah, okay.
No.
Just don't say
Yeah.
that much. So yeah, who's your favorite? Risa? Or?
Yeah, Risa was bae.
Man, this guy, man.
Runners, man.
Runners.
They got stamina.
Yeah, that's true. It's incredible. Oh wait, yeah, we can't say anything about that yet.
So hard.
But yeah, definitely you see the movie. It's incredible. It's amazing how Pokemon movies get better over time, especially, people getting.
First one's still the best.
Yeah,
And no
yeah, he
promo
has
cards, so.
Oh yeah, there was no promo card this year.
So yeah, spoiler alert about that.
All right, I'm back in my car. Said some farewells to my friend, and I just want to give some quick thoughts out there of what I thought about the movie. The movie was absolutely amazing. The animation was great, although there were some parts that were a bit, iffy. What I liked about the movie so much is that it really focused around, the 6 characters. It was Ash, Harriet was the old lady's name, I think, Callahan. Of course, I'm referring to the dub names. Margot, who else was it? Torin, and Risa. I don't know which one of them is my favorite. I probably have to rewatch it again and think. But I actually really liked Callahan's story arc. I don't really want to say too much. The amount of Pokemon that they showed was pretty decent. It was cool. Zeraora was definitely the star. Lugia was there, but the role was a bit similar to what Ho-Oh had last year, so it wasn't featured that much, but it was still cool to see him. So yeah, those are just like my pretty quick thoughts about it. I'll probably make an extensive video about, probably with spoilers, because it's honestly better talking with, what I just saw. And right now I just need to like take it all in and reflect on, what I saw with the movie. So yeah, I'll see you in a bit. Alrighty, Pokemon the Movie The Power of Us, also known as Pokemon Everyone's Story in Japan. So this is the second year in a row where I was able to watch a Pokemon movie on the big screen with a friend of mine, and it's also the same friend that I watched with the 20th anniversary movie, which was I Choose You. We both had a blast, and personally, we liked the movie this year. So my expectations weren't that high. It felt like a regular Pokemon movie, unlike how much they hyped it up for the 20th anniversary movie. There was like more hype for that because, you know, it was celebrating their 20th anniversary, and this year's just felt like a regular year. But it was still something new. Every time when I was updated with the news surrounding the film, we didn't get that much info about it. Besides seeing newer characters and the information, I was just like, oh, okay, this seems new. The animation looks crisp, and I'll still watch it. And I did pre-order my tickets months before the premiere, so I knew that I wanted to see this film. Even though if I wasn't that hyped about it compared to how hype I was during the 20th anniversary movie. So it revolves around the cast of 6, which is Ash, Margot, Harriet, Torrin, Risa, and Callahan. So on the film day itself, me and my friend went to our closest theater. I knew I had to rep my new Team Skull shirt that I bought very recently. It was funny because I felt like the only person in that theater that was only wearing a Pokemon shirt. Everyone else was just being casual, but whatever. I guess I'm a true nerd for that. Now, for my thoughts on the movie, as I said before, this movie was, in my opinion, better than last year's. And man, what a film. I had so much fun watching it, and I was getting into all of the characters. And, you know, every time when you're, like, having fun watching a movie, you're always, like, bummed to see it end or see its climax soon. I had that feeling with this movie, even though if it really wasn't that long. It definitely topped last year's movie, and I really loved the 20th anniversary movie. But Pokemon delivered yet again. And I'm just glad that from here on out, Pokemon movies will just keep getting better and better moving forward. And I urge everyone to please just give this movie a shot. Even if you aren't a follower of the current anime, or if you haven't like watched any movies as of late, any Pokemon movies as of late, I mean. Start off the movie with Risa of what seems to be coming out of her high school, which by the way, the ambience looked really nice. Something you'd see from a slice of life anime. She was visiting her little brother, Rick, who was in the hospital recovering from some sort of injury. It really wasn't stated what it was. He requests her to catch a specific type of Pokemon, and Risa wasn't too fond of the idea. She gave her shades, and she didn't really know why. At the time, we all didn't know why. I mean, it looked good on her, but he gave her shades. And afterwards, we were introduced to Margot, who we found out was the daughter of the mayor of the city of Fula, and we were also informed about the also important wind festival that was happening in the city, which is why we see Ash and Pikachu arrive afterwards attending the wind festival. Another thing I liked about the movie is just seeing like the people in Pokemon like interact. Literally, the city really reminded me of San Francisco for some reason. I don't know why. I'm not really sure if it's based exactly on that, but the ambience, the buildings, and how the road is structured, it really reminded me of that. And I just love seeing just ordinary like people around the streets, working in the offices or like in the cafes. There are like many different sceneries that you can see people just hanging out with Pokemon in the subway. And I found that like really, really cute. Has sort of a sense of realism. What if Pokemon were real? It's also like an important plot point, which is, according to the mayor, it is why Lugia granted the city the power of wind because of how people and Pokemon bonded with each other. And then we see this Pokemon channel like show or something with a very energetic host. Nobody knew who he was. We'll eventually get to that later. And basically he just informs the townspeople of news or what's going on with the Wind Festival and whatnot. So while the Wind Festival is going on, we see a little girl named Kelly who seemed to look up to her big old Uncle Callahan, who was going to be part of one of the 6 main characters. His main story arc is that he keeps telling lies to her niece just because she looks up to him, and he kind of doesn't want to ruin the reputation of him being something that is lower than being like a master Pokemon trainer or like an expert Pokemon trainer, I mean. And one of the coolest parts of the movie was when Margot was running to the city. She tripped into like a fruit or lemon stand with these couple of boys, and these guys were very, very mean. It wasn't her fault that she tripped, it was an accident, but they kind of wanted to throw like some fruit at her anyway. And then Ash, just being alpha as ever, just blocking one of the fruit that the boys tried to throw at her and just caught it like a boss. And then I believe one of them had a Fanpy that challenged Ash to a battle. And when Pikachu did, I think it was like a quick attack or something, like on the roof, the Phanpy tried to do a rollout, and the rollout ended up hitting the boy. And literally everybody laughed in the theater, including myself. That was like one of the best Pokemon movie moments ever. That was really, really good. A really, really good sequence. And later on, we see Risa pop up during the Wind Festival, still trying to find that specific Pokemon that her brother requested her to catch. I mean, she ends up seeing Callahan and then asks him for advice on how to get the Pokemon. Again, it was at the time it was still hidden from us what the Pokemon that was, even though like in the trailer it was obviously probably an Eevee. He points her to a wrong direction just to show off to Kelly that he knows what he's talking about, even though that he is leading Risa to like nowhere, or like in the mountains where it is forbidden to go there. The Pokemon catch race begins. We are then introduced to Torin. So Torin is this green-haired scientist who is one of the top researchers in Fula City and knows a lot about Pokemon. The only problem is he's afraid to speak his mind up. He's very quiet, he's shy, and very antisocial. Now along the way he meets Callahan and they make an exchange together. If Torin helps Callahan with the Pokemon catchphrase that he entered, Callahan will agree to help Torin deliver his presentation the following day. During that sequence, I believe Harriet was introduced as well. At the time no one really knew who she was, but she was just a nagging old lady that has this very grouchy personality that doesn't love Pokemon. We'll get more info on that later on in the film. One thing I do have to say is the music is very awesome, and the fact that from what I read, most of the original Japanese music was kept in the original film, and it should be that way because in the past the dub always likes to make their own music, that generic rock medley or whatever theme they feel like. But I'm just glad that they kept most of the music in. One of the things that really gave me goosebumps was hearing another remix of the Johto Rival theme. When I heard that, I was like, oh my god, goosebumps. I had flashbacks from watching the Johto League back when I was a kid, and I'm just really happy to hear it remastered and actually made it into the dub cut. As for Team Rocket, they didn't have that much big of a role. However, they kind of did have a big of a role because they did cause a bit of trouble that kind of affected most of the plot at the end. But we'll get to that later as well. They were pretty much selling these berries called lumberries with that green hat and selling stuff that like what they usually do during festivals. But outside of their uniforms, or outside of that costume, they still had their modified Rocket uniforms. I believe Jessie had no sleeves at all. She looked kinda, while James, I believe the only thing they added to him was like black sleeves, or he had no sleeves at all, and then he had like a black inner shirt with long sleeves. It was a really unique design, to be honest. It was really unique. And Wobbuffet was there. Wobbuffet and Meowth were pretty much the only Pokemon they were carrying there. Anyway, on to the catch race. It was good. Ash didn't win, and it mostly surrounded Sudowoodo, where it tripped on this Golduck, and then most of the race kind of got ruined because of that. It led to a chain of events that eventually made a Tyranitar go rogue and go around the city and destroy a lot of stuff, which is one of the reasons why Ash lost, because he did stop that Tyranitar running around the city doing all that parkour stuff and even wrapped a rope around its neck. Callahan ended up winning the contest thanks to the help of Torin, and after the contest, Sudowoodo ends up following Callahan because one of the final Pokemon that Callahan caught was the Golduck, and Sudowoodo kind of wanted to thank him for saving him at that dire situation. Callahan wasn't really a fan of the following, so he just ignored it most of the time. We go back to the mayor's house where Margot was having conversation with her father about Zeraora. They were very, very vague about it, and the mayor didn't really want to talk about it too much. We already kind of get the sense that Margot already had an idea what's going on. We also get this funny scene where Risa gets completely baited by Callahan's earlier words and ends up getting lost in the Forbidden Mountains. We finally get to see Harriet's character now when we find out most of her house was filled with a lot of Pokemon. It is very funny because she didn't want any Pokemon in her house, but she doesn't understand why that there were a lot of Pokemon. So she ended up like sleeping outside, and I don't know, that was just a funny sequence in general. Risa ends up asking Ash for help when she heads back to town because she knew that Ash got second place at the catching contest, so she was hoping that he could help her catch the Eevee. We also ended up learning more about Risa, about her foot injury, that she was a track and regional champion. She was scared to run after a long time of injury, and then Ash pretty much encourages her that what you can't do on your own, you can do with your Pokemon pal. That's what I remember. They did end up catching the Eevee, a cute Eevee. It was very easy, even though she failed the first time, but hey, we finally find out that it was indeed an Eevee, and Risa has a partner, or for it to give to her brother later on. Harriet ends up finding out about the sweet scent chemical spill, which explains why there were a lot of Pokemon in her house the previous night, confirmed by going back to the lab on where she visited Torren yesterday when she was first introduced. Something also happened with Fula City's electrical system, and the festival ended up closing. Everyone helps out with cleaning. During the time of Torren's presentation, Callahan was late in doing so, and when it was time for Torren to speak, he ended up getting exposed with, I think, footage of him helping out Callahan, which I don't understand why that was recorded. And even if it was recorded, he should have deleted it right away. But this is pretty much where Torren's confidence gets crushed even more, and Callahan has basically been exposed. Even Kelly heard it. Kelly ends up getting heartbroken with finding out that his uncle has lied to him most of the time. Especially seeing that I forgot what scene it was, but I think he like tripped and his Pokeball ended up opening and it was empty. So that was pretty much the scene where everyone just gives Callahan the bad stare. So while all of that chaos was taking place, Team Rocket steals a spore, sort of, or well, okay, it wasn't called the spore. Team Rocket steals something from the lab, and it ends up causing like an explosion of some sort. Risa's Eevee ended up getting hurt, and I think this was the scene where I heard the Johto music, now that I'm thinking about it. Ash tries to chase Team Rocket down, but to no avail. We also see Harriet waking up to Pokemon still in her house. Callahan is in the dumps, and the city has found out that the Eternal Flame is missing. So the other day everybody was celebrating about the festival, the next day literally chaos everywhere. Well, not like that bad of a chaos, but it was still chaos. Without that one, the city will run out of power. And then Torren discovers footprints in his lab that was determined with Smurgle ink. They traced those steps of Smurgle ink, eventually finding who stole the Eternal Flame. Meanwhile, in the forest, we see Margot encountering hunters trying to protect her friends. I believe it was a Teddy Ursa, and I forgot what the other Pokemon was, but she was protecting two Pokemon. We also find out that she was with Zeraora this entire time, and she seems to be friends with the Zeraora. And when hunters were in the forest, she tried to protect them from getting to Zeraora. However, she ended up leading them to her other two tiny Pokemon friends. And then when they were targeted, Margot tries to protect them, and the hunters still go for it anyway, shooting with their net guns. So when the hunters shot, Zeraora appears out of nowhere and tries to protect Margot's friends from getting captured. And when the hunters finally realize that Zeraora is in front of them, they now turn their attention to hunt down Zeraora, bringing out their heavyweight Pokemon and trying to weaken it. And when they did so, Zeraora was unable to battle anymore, and the hunters go for another shot with their net gun, this time aiming it at Zeraora. Again, Ash saves the day for the second time in a row, saving Margot, this time from actually big bad guys, and the hunters go away. They discover that Margot was indeed with Zeraora, and they also found out that she was the one that stole the Eternal Flame. We then get some backstory on why Zeraora never trusted humans in the first place, because of how people like to catch Zeraora and how they burned the village down many years ago. We also had a flashback with Zeraora saving Margot from a falling rock, which is why Zeraora befriended Margot in the first place. And ever since that, Margot vowed to protect Zeraora and stole the flame so that the festival would be over and people would just go away and not try to go to the mountains, even though it was clearly forbidden to go there, and try to attempt to catch Zeraora. Zeraora here was nicknamed the Protector of the Land Forest. So the backstory was they cut down the forest about 50 years ago, and that the humans caused the mountain fire, which ended up, I'm assuming, killing a lot of Pokemon, even though they didn't really state it, which made Zeraora very angry and made it not trust humans anymore. Ever since that incident, Zeraora vanished, and it was labeled, or the area where they're standing right now was labeled like a cursed mountain, and the rumors of going to the mountain to get cursed was pretty much aroused just to prevent people from going there and trying to catch their aura. So the mayor was low-key trying to protect their aura in a way and calling the mountains forbidden. We ended up seeing the substance that Team Rocket stole in the ground. They, for some reason, dropped it, and this is where kind of their big role pops in, even though that it wasn't... Well, it kind of was their fault, but it's more on the substance. It is called the effect spore. They stole the effect spore, and they ended up dropping it like in the middle of the mountains. The poison just blows up because of the cracks of the glass ball it was contained in. It engulfed majority of the city, and I would honestly like to say that this movie's antagonist is basically smoke or effect spore, because there really wasn't any antagonizing forces here except the forces of nature, sort of. But it could have been prevented. We also see Kelly and Mia trapped in one of the cable cars when the explosion happens, and then Ash finally gives a speech about Pokemon power in order for everybody to help each other with their Pokemon partners and protect the city of Fula. Harriet then suggests to open up her old abandoned power plant so they could use the power plant's big fans to spread the natural cure essence that Torrin suggested in order to counter the smoke of the effect spore. Callahan is then aware of the situation and gets a call from Mia that her and Kelly were stuck in a cable car and they kind of need help. Like all this time, Callahan was feeling down, lowest point of his life, even threw the Pokeball, the empty Pokeball, into the garbage can earlier. And then we see the Sudowoodo that was following all this time get that Pokeball and convinces Callahan to catch him because he wants to be with him. It was a really heartwarming scene that really felt like they were destined to be partners. Callahan then emotionally gives in and admits his mistakes and then catches Sudowoodo in the process, and they are now partners and hug it out. In that scene alone, Callahan redeemed himself as this jerk of a character that always lies and feels that it's wrong to do it. So right now he's trying to redeem himself with saving his sister and niece from the effect spore smoke. So we're already reaching to the final act of the movie, and this is where Fula City prepares for evacuation because of the effect spore pretty much sucking up everything in the city. Torrin finally has the courage to speak up and lets his coworkers know that he doesn't care if they hate him or not, or what they think, because at the end of the day, he still cares for Pokemon. He wants to do anything he can to help because of how smart he is with preventing the effect spore from spreading. And you kind of feel for Torrin here because of how intimate he is with saving the city of Fula and is very determined to do so. Like all this time throughout the movie, you don't really see him do much besides being scared and not take part of any of the action. Harriet and Callahan ended up meeting each other at the mayor's office, and they decided to help each other out. Callahan decides to help and accompany Harriet to go to Harriet's old power plant so she could get it back up and run it again. Team Rocket makes it back to the scientist's lab during the city evacuation, and they were in their Lumberry outfits, everyone not knowing that they're pretty much one of the reasons why the effect spore spread in the first place. Meanwhile, we see Zeraora go berserk again, this time facing off against Ash, who is trying to prevent it from doing more destruction. Though Zeraora wasn't really going berserk, it just zapped away to one area in the mountains that was burning, possibly trying to help the Pokemon that were in danger. Risa, Margo, and Ash were trying to treat its injuries done by the hunters, but it just zapped away. And Margo chose to chase after Zeraora, which led Ash to follow behind, leaving the Eternal Flame to Risa and Eevee for them to bring it back to where it was originally placed and summon Lugia. This was Risa's climax where she had to realize that, okay, I need to put my past aside and maybe try out this Pokemon power thing to see if I could do better with Eevee despite the injuries I had in the past. She eventually just does it. She removes her socks, her shoes, and ran with bare feet that probably must have hurt IRL. She overcomes her past fears and just runs for it. All the grass, all the rocks. I'm pretty sure she has a lot of boo-boos down there while she was running her way to the tower. But of course, they didn't really show any signs of bruises or cuts from her feet. Also, when Team Rocket were in the same evacuation area with Torrin and the other scientists, Torin had an idea to use the lumberries they were selling so he could complete his formula in making the natural cure antidote. So not only did Team Rocket cause the entire city to have the effect spore pandemic, but low-key, they were redeeming themselves without realizing it with their lumberries, thanks to Torin's prowess. Eventually, there were flames in the mountains that Harriet and Callahan couldn't pass through in order to get to the power plant. And then we probably see the most or the saddest and emotional scene of the movie, where Harriet relives her past, recalling the time when she had to evacuate her own power plant, but wanted to get the key that was powering the entire building in the first place. And in that flashback, the place was on fire as well, and the one closest to it was her Snubbull. She couldn't get to it, or she wanted to save Snubbull as well, but there were people preventing her from doing that just so she won't get burned. And when Snubbull did aim for that key, Harriet reaches out towards Snubbull and she was able to save the key. However, the Snubbull was not able to survive and in the process burned her hand, hence why she wears a glove. That really made the theater silent. I can easily compare it to last year when Sorrel had his flashback when his Luxray died, and it kind of had a similar vibe, though I think last year's felt more emotional in my opinion. But this movie's death flashback was pretty sad because you straight up see Snubbull get burned, and then flash forwards to the present with Harriet crying. After the flashback did happen, a ghost, or what appears to be like a spirit of Snubbull, goes up to Harriet and comforts her. And I think at that point on, Harriet kinda accepts Pokemon now, or restores her love for Pokemon because of Pokemon power. So she teams up with Callahan and the Pokemon that were following her, Callahan Sudowoodo included, and cleared the fiery areas so they could get passed by the forest and reach the power plant. So while Risa was running, we actually find out that her glasses were actually camera goggles that had GPS-like abilities that can determine her location, which Rick gave her in the first place. So all this time, her brother was monitoring her entire journey toward getting Eevee, and we now see why Rick gave Risa that in the first place. So when Rick finally revealed the true nature of the glasses, he decides to help Risa out with bringing back the Eternal Flame while she was running with her bare feet. Next, we have a showdown when Ash and Margo finally corner Zeraora, and they try to calm it down, but it just wouldn't listen, so Ash tries to reason it with battle. And during that battle, Ash nearly died again. I mean, Ash dying in movies is pretty much a given, and no one should really be surprised by it. But he nearly dies again when Zeraora gave him a very strong... I'm not sure if it was its signature move, Plasma Fists, but it was a very strong electric attack. So after that showdown, Zeraora earns his trust, and the two team up and try to save the Pokemon in that area, which was engulfed in flames as well. Like literally everything in the movie, or everything after the effect spore, there's just fire everywhere in the mountains. Torin finally came up with his natural cure potion or ball-like thing thanks to the lumber areas that Team Rocket provided for him, and tries to go to where Callahan and Harriet were at so they could use it and spread the cure essence to the giant fans of the power plant. Ash and Zeraora teams up to help out the Pokemon that were struggling in the fire. The mayor suddenly comes out with the entire city, pretty much his whole squad, like behind him, and encourages each other to help out Zeraora and save the Pokemon in the forests/mountains. He comes clean about the history of why they wanted to prevent people from coming in the mountains, and then apologizes to Zeraora as well. And this is pretty much the scene where you now realize why this film is called Pokémon the Movie, The Power of Us. It is because it's the power of everybody in the movie, not just one single person, or not just Ash, the main character, but everybody involved in that dilemma that were helping each other out with their Pokemon pals. On the other side, we have Torin finally meeting up with Callahan and Harriet. They decide to work together and gave the natural cure essence to Callahan, trusting him on what to do with it and how to spread it throughout the entire city thanks to the power plant fans that Harriet already activated. He throws the ball like a baseball thanks to him and Sudowoodo's assistance, cracks it open at like one of the fans, and it literally just became a giant blower of pure smoky goodness that helped rid of the effect spore in the city. everyone was helping each other out, clear out the fire where Ash was, and we see another scene where Ash saves Margot again. In the area where the mayor and the citizens of Fula were trying to take out the fire, one of the electrical towers fell over because of the fire, and Margot nearly has another near-death experience in where Ash attempts to save Margot yet again for the third time, I think. But of course, he would get hit as well, so Zero Aura came in for the save. And just like the incident where Margot almost got hit with a giant rock, Zero Aura saves the day from that falling tower. And let's not forget about Risa. She also ends up playing one of the biggest roles by returning the Eternal Flame from running, I don't know how far, but running, climbing, thanks to the help of Rick, and successfully calls on to Lugia, which we never see the entire movie except the end right here. So thanks to summoning Lugia, it rains, and it helped clear out the fire that was in the mountains. The city is saved, everybody rejoices. We have this lantern festival-ish ending where the mayor says that Fula City is a new town, things are gonna change. They don't want to exclude Zero Aura anymore. And Pokemon power, Pokemon power, Pokemon power. You get the idea. I also noticed, just like last year, the narrator gives his usual narration on the Pokemon movies where in a world where Pokemon blah blah blah, there are creatures that are up in the sky, in the seas, and then he ends up saying that, and these creatures are called Pokemon, like you hear in the beginning of the movies. But starting with last year, they decide to put it at the end, which is very interesting. I don't know if this is going to be a new format moving forward, but it's just nice to see how the film ends like that. We also got to see some cool art stills during the end credit scenes, rather than showing like an well, it was sort of like an epilogue, I guess, seeing what all the characters were up to post FX Spore drama or whatever. And at the very end of the credits, there was actually a post-credit scene, which I don't think has ever happened in a Pokemon movie ever. This might be the first time a post-credit scene. I could be wrong. I might have to do my research. But we find out that Rick was actually revealed to be the Pokemon channel host, and I honestly did not expect that. I thought the channel host was just some random dude filling in with an annoying but cheerful personality in the Fula TV news, but it was actually Rick all this time. I don't know how he was able to broadcast himself to the entire city in his hospital bed, but for some reason it was him and he was able to do it. But yeah, Risa came barging into his room and was furious why she was monitoring him the entire time, which was, if you think about it, that is an invasion of privacy. You never know where she could be placing that glasses, or privacy is an issue. And then the final scene of the movie is seeing Ash running into the sun, wondering what his next adventure will be. And the film just ends. All the 6 characters definitely played a major role in the movie. No one was outshined, no one was undershined. Of course, there were personal favorites that I had in mind, but I think they handled the pacing very well. Of course, they could have done more with what they had, especially with Harriet's story only just being revealed at the end, but they only can do so much with I believe like around 93, 95 or about 105 minutes of movie length time they had. And of course, they also had to focus on the main plot as well of the movie, which is working together with your Pokemon to achieve or overcome an obstacle. And honestly, Team Rocket's involvement this year compared to last year was way better, since they actually had something to do with the main problem of the movie rather than just being in the background like what they did last year. They were still comic relief, but it was functional comic relief, as I'd like to say. But yeah, that's my overview of the movie and what my thoughts are on it. This is definitely good for the casual fan that hasn't been tuning in to the main anime, because this has nothing to do with the main anime. So any fan would enjoy this, or any Pokemon fan would appreciate this if they truly love Pokemon. It definitely stands out among the others because of how diverse the cast is, and it isn't focusing on Ash and his journey to become a Pokemon Master. This is definitely more than being a Pokemon Master. Though I do have to say, I wish we kind of at least have a glimpse of what Pokemon Ash had if it was truly a sequel to I Choose You last year. But no, all we just saw was just him and Pikachu, and We had no idea what other Pokemon he was carrying in this movie. Also interesting to note that last year was focusing on Ho-Oh, and the latest movie was featuring Lugia. So I just find it funny how the Gold and Silver mascots get their own focus many, many years later. Gen 2 confirmed? Maybe? Probably not. We already had Heart Gold and Soul Silver. But everything I've said here is purely just my opinion, and everybody has different tastes. And I always say this to everybody going into watching any type of movie, is that the best review is your review. So just go ahead and see it, and if you like it, you like it. If you don't like it, you don't like it. Me personally, I like it. And from what I'm seeing with how people reacted to this movie, it's been generally positive, and I love it. And I'm just really happy that I was able to see this in the big screen. This being my second Pokemon movie ever to see on the big screen. So yeah, if you want to support this great movie, just make sure to buy it when it comes out on DVD. It had great dubbing. Like, without a doubt, it was good. Though I'm pretty sure a lot of people would say subs are better, which I'll probably agree. I have yet to watch the subs. From what I'm hearing, the seiyus in the movie were great as well. But I'm just very thankful that they kept in the original music, so that is a definite thumbs up from me. Well, and that's pretty much it. This was my first time ever talking about the Pokemon anime or the movies in voice form. I'm not sure if I'm going to do this too often. I apologize if I messed saying a few things up or I'm misinformed about certain scenes of the movie. This is a pretty long video, and if you did stick around and listen to my entire ramble, thank you very much. And I apologize if I rambled on a bit too much, but I just wanted to make sure that I cover everything that I wanted to say about this movie. Anyway, thanks for watching the video, and hope you guys have a wonderful day. Peace out.